Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? So I want to just I've got a short time span because we are running a little bit late. So I'm just going to run through things a little bit quicker than normal. Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? So I want to just I've got a Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? So I want to just Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? So I want to just Good afternoon. How is everybody? Okay, are we good to go? So I want to just I've got a short time span because we are running a little bit late. So I'm just going to run through things a little bit quicker than normal. When did it happen? What was the peak speed? And how did it occur? We can add some context to that, and we can give you an output. You can see there at the top, actually, even though it's back to front, that's a live feed of Kylian Mbappe's current speed as he's walking, the distance traveled since you started monitoring, along with a few other things. I think he hits 33 kilometers an hour at this point, which is quite quick, and he scores. So what do people see when they're in Resel? What they see is essentially a football environment. They will look around and we will choose some stimulus to get them to react to. In this particular example, a player is receiving a ball from one direction, passing a ball to another direction, find the open goal, hit the target. It's quite straightforward. It looks easy to start with. It is, but it gets more and more difficult as time goes on. This particular drill and 4 others like it make up our Resel Index, which is a 20-minute session which we use to benchmark and track and objectively compare players. The data that comes out looks like this. We present it in a portal. This is actually some real data from a young player at Manchester City who was recovering from, I think it was an ACL at the time. You can see 2 different types of characteristics compared at the bottom. One was his overall range of movement. The other one was his accuracy and his reaction time. And we can generate this instantly after every single game, compare players against each other, against themselves, and against fit players, which is often important. That's obviously another player who's been using the kit at one point, but we'll skip past that just to save some time. So just to see what it looks like in action, this is obviously a player who may be familiar to a few in this room. What he's doing here is he's doing that drill we just talked about. You can see his movement patterns are quite natural. He's fixed to a point in space, so we're not putting him under too much physical pressure, which allows us to introduce this at early stages of ACL injuries. It's basically around the same stress as getting on a bike or a low load running. Let's skip through to another one. This is one of the case studies we've got, which has been sent for submission to BSJM. This is with Sean Carmody at QPR. This player himself, under 18s player. Obviously, there's a massive concern about young players who experience long-term injuries when they're under 18, tend to drop out of the game or stunted development. If you've invested money in that player, the last thing you want to do is hold the development back. This player himself reported much higher levels of confidence than he was doing before we integrated this into his program. He felt better and more comfortable on the ball. He felt that he was ready to return, perhaps too soon, obviously, but that's up to physio's call as to whether he comes back. And anecdotally, the most important point is at the end of this video, there's no volume on it, but at the end of this video, I asked him the question, how do you feel? And he said he feels like he's playing the game again, which is massively important. So what people also don't know about Resel is that essentially it's just a motion capture suite. It's a motion capture suite that can be used in any medical room and it's half the price of a Vicon, or a lot less than a Vicon. You can attach any number of trackers to a person anywhere on the body, and you can see exactly how they move. You can track them and compare them. You can look at the distance, the peak velocities, which we'll actually just skip to again. So here, obviously, we've got velocity versus time graph that's showing on a counter movement jump exactly what that player is doing at that time. It's an integrated tool that allows you to just get this information out and compare it quite easily. Just in some of the validity, we've done quite a lot of testing on this. We are a young business, so a lot of our longitudinal studies are still underway. There's quite a lot of early phase stuff going on. There's some partner work with a few well-known universities out there, which I'd be happy to share details on if anybody wants to get in touch and ask. But this is just the method, and one of the tests that we did to validate our result index was looking at different players and whether the system could identify the differences between the players. So obviously, if we can identify the difference as to who we think is the correct players, then we should be able to identify the pathway of recovery for that player too. The probability of identifying and differentiating between an academy player and a Premier League player came out at 86% with probability, and the ability to test between a novice player and a professional player was 97%. The implications of this, obviously I'm aware that I'm running short of time, so I will just skip through to that and go to the end. And I believe we should probably call it quits there. If anyone wants any more information, then please do. I think is that a signal to go? Signal to finish. If anybody wants any more information, there's my email address. I'd be happy to talk to anyone. Thank you.